The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Nodulator Pro, and Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans.
Bernard Tobin here on the Soybean School today near Mount Bridges, Ontario, joined by Dale Cowan and Chris Cowan. Gentlemen, thanks for taking the time.
Nice to be here.
It is rare that I do a lot of soybean strip till. We've done a lot of corn strip till, but rarely do we get a chance to get into a strip till soybean field. Dale, here in Ontario, how much strip till soybeans do we see?
Well, it's a good question. I honestly don't know the answer. I just know this. I don't see it very often. And I think the reason behind it is because we tend to strip till 30-inch row corn. We know that 30-inch row beans don't always yield the best. And so what we're looking at here in this particular case is an integration of a strip till system for both corn and twin row soybeans.
Yeah. Chris, tell us what you're trying to achieve here. Obviously, as Dale said, you've got corn, soy, strip till here. You know, what's driving your thought process here?
So we just started the corn strip till 2 years ago there, and the reason why we went to beans here is to try and eliminate that trash in between the rows where we like to put those twin rows. Eliminate maybe a tillage pass that we've maybe done in the past, and save fuel, time, just save expenses too, and try and get the net dollars where they should be.
Awesome.
Seeing if it's going to work with the fertilizer in the strip too.
Yeah. So let's talk about that strip here, Dale. I mean, fall strip, 12 inches. Take us through what, how we got here.
Well, so last fall, I actually rode in here with Chris last fall. So it's actually a 10-inch wide band on 30-inch centers. And what to be able to do with that is, you're only disturbing a third of the soil, moving the trash to the side, incorporating fertilizer. We put MAP and potash down here last fall. And so when you talk about fall placement of fertilizer, the best place for it is below ground. So we talk about source rate, time, and place. For our thing is that we're getting it positioned below ground, so the chance for runoff in the fall is minimized, and we got it down where the roots are going to find it for both corn and the soybeans.
Yeah. Now you got some nice emergence here. Tell us about this spring and how this has come through.
Well, I think everyone's struggling a little bit with their soybean stand this year. I think just the weather conditions, a little bit of vigor issues maybe in some, but I think one of the learning process here, and Chris will chime in on that as well, is that it was a pretty mellow strip, and sometimes the tendency was it got a little deep on us. And where we wandered off the strip till, it's only 10 inches wide, 7.5-inch twin rows, that leaves you 2.5 inch. That's 1.25 inches error on each side of the strip, so it's a pretty narrow. So staying on the band was a bit of a challenge at times. So that's part of the learning curve here. But that this year, I think, if anything, we probably planted a little too deep.
Right. Tell us about your planning process here. Chris, what are you running? What are you creating those strips with? And as I say, you're drilling these soybeans, right?
Yeah, so it's a TerraForge strip till unit. It's got a Montag cart mounted right on it. And it's a shank unit that we're just doing in the fall. We're not refreshing these strips at all, and we do the exact same thing with our corn ground as well. But and then we come back in with a New Holland 30-foot drill, and we block 2 rows, open the next 2, block 2, open the next 2, and so on, to create this twin row 7.5-inch, 30-inch center soybeans, to hopefully go right on top of that strip.
Right. You talked earlier about, I guess, labor fuel savings here. I mean, tell me a little bit about yield, but from what you said earlier, hey, the real savings here, the real punch, shall we say, is being more efficient.
How we can be more efficient is less passes through that field, right? And less manpower we need, less fuel. The list goes on, and the savings are substantial when you sit down and pencil it out. So
it's basically you and your dad put almost 2,000 acres of crops in by yourself.
Yeah.
One running the corn planter, one running the drill at the same time. So those beans were actually planted before the 10th of May. And even though there may not be a perfect stand, I'll take this stand of soybeans planted May 7th on anything planted later.
You got it. Hey, talk about plant nutrition here. A great opportunity to get that, the nutrition to the root zone, get some uptake, which is always a challenge with soybeans.
Yeah, so soybeans have always been, we've always considered them a scavenger crop, is that, they tend to do well after corn fertilizing. Well, you know, in this province, we've been barely fertilizing the corn, so there's not much left for the soybean. So this system here, and the concerted effort has been made to get enough MAP and potash down in the band to look after corn removal and soybean demands, because really people forget that a 60 bushel soybean crop requires more potassium than a 200 bushel corn crop. Yep. So getting it down there, getting this crop fed, we're really anxious to see the results this fall with these beans being on top of a fertilizer strip.
Final question for you. You know, how popular can this become? I mean, we talked about the fact that, you know, you need 30 inches here to make this work. Is it sort of more of a further southwest program, or shall we see it spread across the province in the years ahead?
Well, I do see a lot of farmers really examining strip till. So when you start to think of strip till, it's kind of the best of doing tillage and not doing tillage. And we know straight no-till doesn't always work in some of the heavy textured fields. So here you got a worked band, 10 inches deep, or 10 inches wide and as deep as you want to go. Options to place fertilizer, move some trash to the side, have a nice mellow little seed bed in the spring. Got lots of, you know, you got almost 60% residue cover here. That helps reduce erosion and surface runoff. And you start talking about where we got to go with protecting water quality and nutrient placement and holding the soil in place. When you got this kind of surface residue, you really reduce the amount of physical runoff from rainfall. So I think there's just a lot of things you want to look at just beyond the planting and the strip till. It's a whole farming system. It's an integration of a whole lot of different concepts.
Well, hey guys, great story. Looking forward to, we'll make a return trip in the fall, see how you make out. How about that?
All right. Thanks
awesome,
a lot.
good stuff.